What if I told you that the next 6 months could change your life forever? Not years, not a lifetime, just 6 months of focused effort, and you could become stronger, sharper, and more powerful than you've ever imagined. But here's the truth. Most people will waste the next 6 months. They'll drift from one task to another, overwhelmed by distractions, chained to bad habits, and stuck in the same cycle of excuses. Sound familiar? The problem isn't that people don't want change. They just don't know how to create it. They overthink, they hesitate, and they wait for the right moment. But the right moment never comes. The solution? Relentless action, backed by a proven plan. In this video, I'll walk you through a powerful 6-month success plan designed to help you build unstoppable discipline, eliminate distractions, and achieve breakthroughs most people only dream of. You'll learn how to transform your mindset, master your focus, and create habits that make success inevitable. No more excuses, no more waiting. The next 6 months are yours to own, and this plan will show you exactly how to make every moment count. Are you ready to break free from limitations and build a life you're proud of? Stay with me, because this is where everything changes. Month 1, own your life. Break free from excuses and take control. Everything begins here, with you, not your circumstances, not your past, not the people around you, just you. The truth is, where you are right now is no accident. Every decision you've made, every action you took or didn't take, brought you here. That can be hard to accept, but it's powerful once you do. Because if your choices got you here, your choices can get you out. But most people never reach that point. Instead, they blame. They point fingers at their boss, their upbringing, or bad luck. They cling to excuses like a life raft, convincing themselves that change is impossible. And that's why they stay stuck. Because the moment you surrender control, you hand over your power, the power to build a better life. That's where Stoicism draws the line. A Stoic refuses to waste energy on what they cannot control. They focus only on what's within their grasp, their thoughts, their actions, their mindset. Everything else? It's noise. You can't control the weather, but you can decide whether to pack an umbrella. You can't control the economy, but you can sharpen your skills. And you can't control the people around you, but you can control how you respond. Now imagine 2 men. Let's call them David and Marcus. Both are stuck in dead-end jobs, earning just enough to survive. David spends his days blaming his boss, complaining about his salary, and scrolling social media to escape reality. He tells himself he'll take action when things get better. Marcus, he's different. He knows his job isn't ideal, but instead of blaming, he asks himself, what can I do today to improve my future? He devours books during his commute, builds new skills in his free time, and saves every dollar he can. 6 months later, David's still complaining, but Marcus, he started a freelance side hustle, landed better clients, and doubled his income. Same circumstances, different mindsets. The difference wasn't luck, it was responsibility. And that's your first step. Owning every choice, every action, every outcome. If your finances are a mess, it's on you to fix them. If your relationships are strained, it's your responsibility to improve them. If your career feels stuck, no one's coming to save you. That's your job. The moment you take responsibility is the moment you take your power back. Next comes clearing the path. Most people stay trapped because they're drowning in distractions, endless notifications, mindless scrolling, and conversations that lead nowhere. It's no accident. Social media, email, even entertainment, they're all designed to hijack your attention. The result? You lose hours chasing nothing, and those hours turn into weeks, months, and years. If you want to transform your life in 6 months, you must take ruthless control of your focus. Start by identifying your biggest distractions. What's stealing your time? What's draining your energy without giving anything back? For some, it's social media. For others, it's pointless arguments or binge-watching TV. Whatever it is, cut it off. Not later, not tomorrow, now. But eliminating distractions isn't enough. You need something stronger to pull you forward. A purpose, a target that demands your focus. Most people fail because their goals are vague. They say they want to get in shape or make more money. But vague goals create vague results. Your goal must be precise, sharp enough to cut through every excuse. Instead of get in shape, set a clear target, like run 5 kilometers in under 30 minutes within 3 months. Instead of save money, commit to saving $1,000 in 90 days. Clarity drives action. Without it, you're just guessing. Once your goal is clear, break it down. A goal that seems massive at first becomes manageable when you cut it into pieces. Ask yourself, what's one thing I can do today that moves me closer to my goal? Then act. Don't overthink it. Don't wait for motivation. Just move. Now comes the hardest part, showing up every day, no matter what. This is where most people fail. They start strong, fueled by excitement, but the moment it gets hard, they stop. And that's why they stay stuck. They rely on motivation when what they really need is discipline. Discipline is simple. It's waking up when you said you would. It's following your plan even when you're tired. It's saying no when your friends invite you out, but you know you haven't finished your work. The difference between success and failure often comes down to this: doing the work when you don't feel like it. That's why your plan must be non-negotiable. You don't ask yourself, should I go to the gym? You just go. You don't wonder, should I start my project today? You start. When you commit like this, your emotions lose their grip. No more, I don't feel like it. No more, I'll do it tomorrow. Just action. And that's how you own your life. By taking full responsibility, clearing away distractions, setting sharp goals, and executing without hesitation. The world won't wait for you to feel ready. The right moment won't arrive. If you want to change your life, the time is now. The next 6 months are yours to claim. Will you take them? Month 2. Build unstoppable habits. Master your daily routine. Taking responsibility is just the beginning. The real test starts when you turn that responsibility into action. And not just once, but every single day. Because success doesn't come from what you do occasionally. It comes from what you do consistently. Most people get fired up after deciding to change their life. They feel motivated for a few days, maybe even a few weeks. But then something happens. Life gets busy. Stress kicks in. Old habits resurface. And before they know it, they're back to square one. That's why this month isn't about motivation. It's about building a system. A set of habits that push you forward, even when you don't feel like it. There's a reason so many people fail at this. They think building habits is about willpower, but it's not. Willpower fades. You can't rely on it. What you need is structure, a routine so strong that success becomes automatic. A man named Daniel knows this better than anyone. For years, Daniel struggled with discipline. Every January, he'd set goals to eat better, exercise more, and work harder. By February, those goals were gone, buried under excuses and bad habits. Every year, the cycle repeats. Then one day, Daniel made one change that transformed everything. He stopped relying on motivation and started relying on routine. Instead of deciding each morning whether he felt like exercising, he made his morning workout non-negotiable. Same time, same place, no debate. Whether he was tired, busy, or stressed, he showed up. At first, it felt forced. Some mornings, he dragged himself out of bed, half asleep and unmotivated. But over time, something clicked. The resistance faded. His morning workout stopped feeling like a choice. It became automatic, like brushing his teeth. That's the power of routine. It turns the hard things into habits, and once something becomes a habit, it no longer drains your energy. It just happens. If you want to build a routine like that, start with your mornings. Because the way you start your day controls how you finish it. Most people wake up reactive, checking their phone, scrolling through news feeds, and answering messages. Before they've even had breakfast, their mind is scattered, their focus is shot, and they've already lost control of their day. Instead, take control the moment you wake up. Build a morning routine that locks you in mentally, physically, and emotionally. For some, that might mean journaling or meditation. For others, it's exercise, visualization, or reading something that sharpens the mind. It doesn't matter what you choose. What matters is that you own that first hour. Because when you control your mornings, you control your momentum. But a strong morning routine alone isn't enough. Throughout your day, you'll face moments where you hesitate, where your mind says, "I'll do it later." Don't listen to that voice, because hesitation kills momentum. Every time you delay, you reinforce a pattern of avoidance. Instead, follow the 2-minute rule. If something takes less than 2 minutes, do it immediately. Answer the email, make the phone call, start the workout. Once you begin, the hardest part is over. Daniel applied this rule aggressively. At work, instead of putting off difficult tasks, he tackled them first. He trained himself to act fast, not because he felt motivated, but because he refused to let hesitation control him. And that changed everything. The truth is, success isn't about getting fired up once in a while. It's about showing up, even when you don't feel like it. It's about creating a structure that carries you forward on the hard days when motivation isn't there to push you. But that's not easy, because discomfort will show up every time you try to build a new habit. The resistance you do feel? That's your mind fighting for what's familiar, even if familiar means being stuck. That's why you have to push through. When you feel that mental friction, when everything in you wants to quit, lean in. Remind yourself that the discomfort is proof you're growing. The Stoics knew this well. They believed that the path to strength isn't found in comfort. It's forged in challenge. They embraced hardship deliberately, not to suffer, but to train their minds. They understood that self-control isn't born from ease. It's born from choosing what's hard, over and over again. And here's the truth. The more you embrace discomfort, the less power it has over you. The cold shower that once felt unbearable, soon it's just water. The early morning workout that felt exhausting, soon it's just part of your day. That's why this month is about mastering your routine. Wake up with purpose, eliminate hesitation, embrace discomfort, and above all, show up every single day, no matter what. Because you won't always feel like it. Some mornings you'll be tired, some evenings you'll feel drained. But that's exactly when you need to push harder, because that's where the breakthrough happens. In 6 months, you won't just have better habits. You'll have a stronger mind. You'll know that you can face resistance, discomfort, and doubt and still move forward. This isn't about motivation, it's about becoming the kind of person who acts. No excuses, no delays, no hesitation. The question is, will you build those habits now? Or will you wait and look back 6 months from now, wondering what could have been? Month 3. Strengthen your mindset. Develop bulletproof discipline. Discipline is the force that turns good intentions into lasting results. Without it, even the best plans fall apart. Most people believe discipline is about control, forcing yourself to push through when you don't feel like it. But that's not the full picture. Discipline isn't just about control, it's about clarity, knowing exactly what matters and refusing to let emotions, excuses, or distractions get in the way. This is why so many people struggle. They let feelings dictate their actions. They wake up tired and decide to skip the gym. They feel unmotivated and postpone that important project. They convince themselves that they'll get back on track tomorrow. But tomorrow never comes. A man named Kevin once lived like that. He was ambitious, full of ideas, and always chasing the next big goal. But no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't seem to follow through. He'd start strong, excited and motivated, but the moment things got uncomfortable, he'd quit. That pattern followed him for years. He'd start diets, then binge when stress hit. He'd set financial goals, then spend impulsively when emotions got the best of him. Even his relationships suffered because he let frustration and insecurity shape his reactions. Then one day, something changed. Kevin was working on a major project, a chance to land a partnership that could change his career. But halfway through, doubt crept in. The work was hard, progress was slow, and he convinced himself it wasn't worth the effort. So he quit. Days later, Kevin found out that a colleague, someone less skilled, less experienced, and less prepared, landed the opportunity instead. Not because they were better, but because they kept showing up. That's when it hit him. He wasn't failing because of a lack of talent or resources. He was failing because he let his emotions control him. Every time he quit, it wasn't because he couldn't do it. It was because he didn't feel like it. From that moment forward, Kevin made a decision. His feelings no longer had the final say. He started by writing down his most important goals. But this time, he didn't just focus on what he wanted to achieve. He focused on the uncomfortable steps required to get there, and he committed to those steps no matter how he felt. When it was time to exercise, he went, tired or not. When it was time to make difficult phone calls, he made them, anxious or not. When it was time to sit down and focus, he locked in, even when his mind begged him to quit. At first, it felt impossible, but over time, something shifted. Kevin's emotions stopped controlling him. The hesitation that once held him back started to fade. He wasn't just forcing himself to act. He was rewiring his mind. That's the power of discipline. It's not about feeling strong. It's about deciding that your actions are non-negotiable. The Stoics understood this well. They believed that the mind must be trained like a muscle, deliberately, consistently, and often in discomfort. They didn't just accept discomfort. They embraced it, because they knew that discomfort sharpens the mind, builds resilience, and strengthens self-control. That's why this month is about mastering emotional control. Because if you let your feelings drive your decisions, you'll stay stuck. When anger rises, you'll say something you regret. When anxiety hits, you'll avoid what needs to be done. When doubt creeps in, you'll pull back when you should push forward. But if you can control your mind, if you can act with calm, deliberate focus, you win. Here's how you do it. First, stop negotiating with yourself. The moment you tell yourself, "I don't feel like it," you've already lost. Don't debate, don't argue, just act. Second, train your mind to lean into discomfort. Each time you face resistance, whether it's waking up early, speaking in public, or tackling something you've been avoiding, recognize that as your training ground. That's the moment you build mental strength. Finally, track your progress. Discipline isn't just about pushing hard, it's about measuring your effort. Write down your commitments. Mark every day you follow through. Watch the streak build and refuse to break it. Kevin followed these steps relentlessly. Within months, he had achieved more than in the past 3 years combined. His fitness improved, his career accelerated, and his relationships strengthened. Not because he worked harder, but because he mastered his mind. And here's what's most powerful. Once you develop discipline, motivation becomes irrelevant. You don't wait to feel inspired. You act, because that's who you've become. There's a reason why so few people succeed long-term. They quit the moment things get hard. They let discomfort stop them. But if you refuse to quit, if you show up every single day, no matter how you feel, you become unstoppable. This is what separates those who dream from those who achieve. It's not talent, it's not luck. It's the decision to act over and over again, without hesitation. In 6 months, your life will reflect the choices you make today. So decide now. Will you keep waiting for the right moment, or will you take control and build the discipline that guarantees success? Month 4. Maximize your time, eliminate distractions, and stay focused. Time isn't something you lose, it's something you trade. Every hour you spend scrolling, procrastinating, or chasing low-value tasks isn't just wasted, it's an investment in failure. Most people struggle to see this. They tell themselves they're busy, yet their days vanish in a blur of distractions. Emails, notifications, mindless scrolling, these things drain energy faster than most realize. Worse yet, they create an illusion of productivity. Hours pass, yet nothing meaningful moves forward. If you've ever wondered why you work hard yet feel stuck, this is why. It's not a lack of effort, it's misdirected focus. The key isn't working longer, it's working smarter. Success isn't about filling your schedule, it's about protecting it. To take control, start by tracking your time. For 1 week, write down exactly how you spend your hours. Be ruthless. Track every break, every distraction, every mindless moment. Most people are shocked by what they find. Hours gone with nothing to show for it. Once you see where your time is leaking, the solution becomes clear. Cut the noise. Start with social media. These platforms are designed to hijack your attention, and they're incredibly effective. A quick scroll turns into 30 minutes, then an hour. Before you know it, half your day has slipped away. The fix isn't moderation, it's control. Set clear boundaries. Block social media during your most productive hours. Turn off notifications. Better yet, delete the apps entirely during the week. If something doesn't directly improve your focus or your goals, it doesn't deserve your time. Next, look at the conversations you allow into your life. Some people thrive on gossip, negativity, or pointless debates. These interactions drain your energy, and they rarely lead to solutions. Instead, choose your conversations wisely. Spend time with people who challenge you, inspire you, or push you forward. Protect your mental space with the same intensity you protect your schedule. But distractions aren't always obvious. Sometimes they come disguised as urgent tasks, small requests, constant emails, endless meetings. These interruptions may feel important, but they often steal your most valuable resource: focus. To avoid this, you must master one skill: the power of no. Saying yes to everything isn't helpful. It's destructive. It scatters your energy and fills your schedule with obligations that don't align with your goals. Learn to say no without guilt. If a request doesn't move you closer to your vision, decline it. Politely, firmly, without hesitation. At first, this feels uncomfortable. You'll worry about disappointing people. But what's worse, saying no now, or looking back 6 months from now and realizing you sacrificed your goals to please others? Time is your most precious resource, and you can't afford to spend it on distractions disguised as priorities. But there's another side to this. Even after eliminating distractions, you must learn how to manage your energy. Some tasks drain you faster than others. Complex decisions, intense conversations, and mentally demanding projects burn focus quickly. If you're not careful, you'll waste your best energy on things that don't matter. The solution? Do your most important work first. Don't save your biggest task for later. Later never comes. Handle what matters most when your mind is sharpest. Whether that's early morning, late at night, or mid-afternoon, protect that window fiercely. That's how you build momentum. When you prioritize impact over busyness, your progress accelerates. But focus isn't just about eliminating distractions. It's about controlling your attention when those distractions appear. Most people believe focus is about blocking out noise. But real focus is the ability to return again and again, no matter how often your mind drifts. If you've ever sat down to work, only to realize 20 minutes later that your mind wandered, you know this feeling. The key isn't to avoid distraction entirely. That's impossible. The key is to notice when your mind drifts and bring it back immediately. The faster you return, the stronger your focus becomes. The Stoics believed this deeply. They knew that the mind was like a wild horse, always pulling, always restless. They understood that controlling the mind wasn't about suppressing thoughts. It was about constantly steering them back on track. So when your mind drifts, and it will, don't get frustrated. Don't beat yourself up. Simply recognize it, reset, and refocus. This practice is powerful because the more you train your mind to return, the faster you regain control, and the less power distractions have over you. But the greatest threat to your focus isn't social media, interruptions, or scattered thoughts. It's the belief that you still have time. Too many people delay what matters most because they believe they'll get to it later. They convince themselves that tomorrow is guaranteed, that opportunities will wait. But tomorrow isn't promised, and time won't slow down for you. That's why you must act with urgency. Treat each day as if it's your last chance to move forward. Because the truth is, one day it will be. In the next 6 months, you will either guard your time or waste it. You will either master your focus or lose it. So ask yourself, what deserves your attention? What's worth your energy? And most importantly, what will you refuse to waste another minute on? The answers to those questions will shape your future. Make them count. Month 5. Break your limits. Push beyond your comfort zone. You will never know how strong you are until you test yourself. Growth isn't found in comfort. It's built in discomfort. Most people set limits on themselves without realizing it. They stay within what feels familiar, what feels safe. They tell themselves, I can't go further, or that's too difficult. They accept those limits as reality, never questioning if they're self-imposed. But those limits, they're illusions, created by fear, reinforced by hesitation, and kept alive by comfort. Breaking those limits isn't just important, it's necessary, because your biggest breakthroughs are always waiting on the other side of discomfort. The Stoics believed this deeply. They understood that true strength comes from facing resistance head-on. Epictetus famously said, "Difficulties show what men are." He knew that struggle isn't something to avoid, it's something to embrace. The reason is simple. When you face discomfort, you grow. Every time you push past what feels hard, physically, mentally, or emotionally, you expand your limits. What once seemed impossible becomes your new baseline. But here's where most people go wrong. They wait for courage to appear before they take action. They believe they need to feel confident before they step into discomfort. But that's not how growth works. Courage doesn't come first, action does. Confidence is built by moving forward despite the fear. Each time you push past hesitation, each time you do what you didn't think you could, your mind rewires itself. You stop seeing challenges as threats and start seeing them as opportunities. That's why this month isn't about feeling safe. It's about learning to thrive in discomfort. Start by identifying what scares you. Maybe it's public speaking, maybe it's confrontation, maybe it's asking for what you deserve. Whatever it is, write it down, then face it directly, deliberately, and repeatedly. If you avoid conflict, have one tough conversation this week. If you fear judgment, share your ideas publicly. If you've been playing it safe at work, volunteer for the task that feels intimidating. Don't wait to feel ready, because readiness doesn't come. What comes is regret. Regret that you stayed in your comfort zone when you knew you were capable of more. But discomfort isn't just about fear, it's also about effort. Growth doesn't happen by doing just enough. It happens when you demand more from yourself. When you refuse to quit at the first sign of fatigue. When you're tired, push a little longer. When you're frustrated, keep moving. When your mind says, "I've had enough," challenge it. Because what feels like your limit is often just your mind begging for comfort. Your body can go further. Your mind can endure more. You're stronger than you believe. But you'll never know that if you stop the moment things get hard. The Stoics knew this too. They deliberately sought discomfort, not to suffer, but to strengthen themselves. Seneca described this practice as voluntary hardship. He understood that by facing difficulty on your own terms, you build the mental armor to withstand life's unpredictable challenges. This is why pushing yourself now matters. Because when life gets hard, and it will, you won't crumble, you won't panic, you won't break, because you've already trained yourself to stay calm under pressure. But there's another reason this matters, one most people overlook. When you push yourself, you change the way you see yourself. Most people doubt themselves because they've spent years avoiding discomfort. They've avoided challenges, taken the easy route, and built a habit of quitting when things get hard. Over time, that creates a dangerous belief, the belief that they're weak. But when you push yourself, when you face what's hard and win, that belief shatters. Suddenly, you don't just believe you can succeed, you know it. Because you've proven it to yourself again and again. That's why this month is critical. This is the month you redefine what's possible. Don't just set bigger goals, set uncomfortable ones. Goals that challenge your limits and demand more than you think you can give. If you're working out, add more weight, push for extra reps, or extend your routine. If you're building a skill, take on a project that feels just beyond your ability. If you're growing your career, aim for the opportunity that feels intimidating. The goal isn't perfection, it's progress. Each time you stretch your limits, you expand your potential. What once felt overwhelming starts to feel natural, and when that happens, you level up. But this only works if you stay consistent. Growth isn't built in a single breakthrough. It's built by showing up every day, no matter how uncomfortable it feels. So the question isn't whether you can break your limits, it's whether you're willing to. Most people won't. Most will stay safe, clinging to what feels familiar. They'll tell themselves they tried, but they won't push hard enough to see what they're truly capable of. But you don't have to be like most people. You can choose differently. You can decide right now to face the fear, push through the fatigue, and refuse to back down when things get hard. Because the truth is, comfort is easy, but greatness isn't built there. Growth happens when you decide to face the discomfort, lean into the resistance, and keep pushing, even when your mind begs you to quit. This is how you build strength. This is how you build resilience. This is how you become unstoppable. Month 6, become a machine. Master relentless execution. Discipline sets the foundation. Breaking your limits expands your potential. But none of that matters unless you execute relentlessly, without hesitation, and without excuses. Most people know what they need to do. They know they should wake up earlier. They know they should eat better, train harder, and focus more. But knowing isn't enough, because knowledge without action is powerless. The reason so many people fail isn't because they lack ideas, it's because they lack execution. They start a goal with energy and excitement, but as soon as obstacles appear, they slow down. They make excuses. They tell themselves they'll try again tomorrow. This cycle repeats again and again. And before they know it, months have passed and nothing has changed. The problem isn't that they're lazy, it's that they're inconsistent. They take action only when they feel like it. But that mindset will fail you. If you only act when you're motivated, you'll never achieve anything worthwhile. Because motivation fades, it's unreliable, and it vanishes when you need it most. That's why you must build a different mindset, one where your actions are non-negotiable. The Stoics believed deeply in this. They rejected the idea of waiting for inspiration. Instead, they trained themselves to act, no matter how they felt. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Do what nature demands. Get up, go to work, and stop arguing." He understood that action, not feelings, is what drives progress. That's what this month is about, becoming the kind of person who executes without hesitation. Start by eliminating hesitation from your mind. The moment you catch yourself thinking, "Should I do this now or later?" Act. No debate, no delay. Because the longer you hesitate, the stronger your mind's resistance becomes. If you've ever felt that invisible wall, the one that makes simple tasks feel impossible, that's hesitation. And the longer you let it build, the harder it becomes to break. But when you move immediately, before doubt takes hold, that resistance disappears. This is why elite performers don't hesitate. They've trained themselves to respond with action, fast, focused, and without excuses. Athletes know this well. They don't ask themselves, "Do I feel like training today?" They just show up, tired or not. Writers understand it too. They don't wait for inspiration. They write because that's what they've committed to doing. And soldiers live by this principle, because in combat, hesitation can mean the difference between life and death. You must build that mindset, one where your actions become automatic. But relentless execution isn't just about starting, it's about finishing. Most people quit too early. They start a project, face resistance, and convince themselves they'll come back to it later. But later never comes. If you want to succeed, you must train yourself to finish what you start, no matter how long it takes. The Stoics embraced this mindset. They knew that obstacles aren't signs to stop, they're opportunities to push harder. Seneca once wrote, "A gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man perfected without trials." He knew that struggle isn't something to avoid, it's something to master. So when things get hard, when frustration builds, when fatigue sets in, when everything in you wants to quit, that's when you push even harder. Because finishing, especially when you don't feel like it, builds something powerful, unstoppable momentum. Momentum is the ultimate force multiplier. When you build it, everything gets easier. Small wins turn into bigger ones. Progress accelerates. Confidence grows. But momentum dies when you break the cycle. Every skipped workout, every delayed task, every excuse, these small breaks destroy the rhythm you've built. That's why the most successful people refuse to break momentum, no matter what's happening around them. They don't wait for perfect conditions. They don't slow down because they're tired. They push forward, even when they're drained, because they know momentum is the hardest thing to rebuild once it's gone. To build that mindset, create a rule for yourself. Never miss twice. If you skip one workout, you get back on track the next day. If you miss a deadline, you correct course immediately. One mistake is recoverable, but two, that's how failure starts. Finally, understand this. Relentless execution isn't about working endlessly without rest. It's about working with focus and intensity when it's time to act. Most people confuse movement with progress. They stay busy, constantly working, yet never actually move forward. The key is precision. Don't just fill your day with activity, fill it with results. Ask yourself daily, what's the one action that would move me forward most today? Then do it, first, fast, and without hesitation. Because success isn't reserved for the most talented. It's built by those who refuse to quit. When others stop, you keep going. When others hesitate, you act. When others look for shortcuts, you embrace the grind. And 6 months from now, while most people are still making excuses, you'll look back and see just how far you've come. Not because you were smarter, not because you were luckier, but because you refused to stop. Never go back. Lock in permanent growth for life. Change isn't real until it lasts. You can push yourself for 6 months, break your limits, and master your focus. But if you fall back into old habits, it's all wasted. Sustained success isn't just about starting strong, it's about finishing stronger. And the only way to guarantee that is to make your growth permanent. The biggest mistake people make after achieving progress is assuming they're done. They reach a goal, celebrate the victory, and slowly let old behaviors creep back in. That's how progress dies. Not in one dramatic failure, but in small, unnoticed compromises. The morning routine that once felt powerful turns into, "I'll skip it just this once." The discipline that once felt sharp turns into, "I'll get back on track tomorrow." But success doesn't survive on momentum alone. It requires constant reinforcement. That's why this final phase is crucial. This is where you solidify the progress you've built and make it impossible to go back. Start by establishing non-negotiable standards for yourself. Not goals, standards. Goals are outcomes. They can be achieved and forgotten, but standards define how you live. If you've spent 6 months building discipline, maintain it. Don't let yourself return to the cycle of waiting for motivation. Decide that your actions are automatic, that showing up, pushing hard, and refusing excuses are just part of who you are now. Next, create a system for self-reflection. Most people fail because they stop paying attention. They assume they'll just know when they're slipping, but they won't, not until weeks or months have passed. Instead, create checkpoints, weekly, monthly, or quarterly, where you evaluate yourself honestly. Ask yourself, did I push myself this week? Am I still prioritizing what matters most? Have I allowed old habits to return? If you find yourself slipping, correct course immediately. Don't let small mistakes become permanent patterns. The Stoics believed this practice was essential. They knew that without self-awareness, progress would vanish. That's why Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Look well into yourself. There is a source of strength which will always spring up if you will always look." He understood that self-reflection isn't just about growth, it's about protection. But reflection alone isn't enough. You must also reinforce what's working. Every time you follow through, every time you act with discipline, push through discomfort, or maintain focus, you're strengthening that behavior. But if you don't celebrate those wins, if you don't actively recognize your progress, your mind will forget how far you've come. So acknowledge your victories, not with laziness, but with intention. When you hit a milestone, pause. Reflect on what it took to get there. Remind yourself that progress wasn't luck, it was effort. That's what builds confidence. And confidence isn't about arrogance, it's about proof. Proof that you're stronger than your doubts, tougher than your fears, and more capable than you once believed. But here's the final and most powerful step in making your growth permanent. Don't stop growing. Complacency is the silent killer of progress. The moment you believe you've made it, you've already started to slip. So once you reach one milestone, set another, and then another. Because when you constantly chase growth, you leave no room for backtracking. The Stoics warned against comfort for this exact reason. They believed that comfort dulls the mind, that once you stop challenging yourself, you stop improving. Epictetus put it simply, the greater the difficulty, the more glory in surmounting it. He understood that the moment you stop pushing, you start weakening. That's why this journey never truly ends. The progress you've made in these 6 months isn't a finish line. It's a new starting point. You are not the same person you were before this began. You are sharper, stronger, more disciplined, more focused, and you have 2 choices. Hold on to that strength or let it slip away. 6 months from now, you will either look back with pride, knowing you refused to go back to old habits, or with regret, wondering how you lost everything you built. So decide now. Will you protect the progress you've made? Will you keep pushing? Not because you have to, but because you know what's possible when you refuse to quit. This is your moment. Not to slow down, but to rise higher. Not to relax, but to lock in everything you've built. Because if you do, you won't just achieve success, you'll create a new version of yourself. One that refuses to settle. One that thrives in discomfort. One that has proven, beyond doubt, that they are unstoppable. The path to growth is not complicated, but it demands commitment. Over the past 6 months, you've learned to break free from excuses, build unstoppable habits, and master relentless execution. You've faced discomfort, strengthened your mindset, and learned to stay focused when others falter. But this journey isn't over. Growth doesn't end when you reach a goal. It continues every day. The Stoics understood this well. They knew that true strength isn't about one big achievement. It's about who you become through consistent effort. The progress you've made, the discipline you've built, must now become part of your identity. It is not something you turn on when life feels easy, but something you rely on when everything feels difficult. Each morning is an opportunity to improve. Each setback is a test of your resilience. Each challenge is a chance to prove to yourself that you won't quit when things get hard. Some days will be frustrating, some moments will make you question if the effort is worth it. But remember this, the person who keeps showing up, who refuses to let excuses win, is the one who changes their life. Don't let what you've built fade away. Protect it, reinforce it, live it. And if you've struggled before, if you've felt stuck, frustrated, or unsure of what's next, this is your reminder. You can start again today. Now, I'd like to hear from you. What challenges have you faced while trying to build better habits? What has helped you stay consistent? Share your experience in the comments. Your story may be exactly what someone else needs to hear. Because transformation isn't just about you, it's about inspiring others to rise with you.